Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another Fireside Chat with Tawana. Tonight, I have the absolute honor of talking to one of my friends. I'm sure she's one of your friends too, because she is very well known in this industry. But before I do that introduction, let me just do this. I have to remind you all, if you are not saving the date for the Full Figure Industry Awards this year, make sure you pull out your phone and put it on your calendar. November 4th. 2023. Yes, we are in 2023, in case you're watching this in a different year. We are going to be we're back in person for the Full Figure Industry Awards happening in Queens, New York. So if you have not gotten your tickets, make sure you get your tickets, thefires.com. That's THEFFIAS.com. I will make sure I put that link in description for you as well. So you can just click it and go ahead and buy your tickets. We want to see you there. Make sure you come red carpet ready because the photographers are going to be ready and clicking away. Now, these fireside chats, if you don't know what they are about, we have the honor of speaking to some of our nominees. So if you haven't seen some of the previous fireside chats, go back and watch those. And please hit the subscribe button while you're there as well. So we're talking to our nominees and some of our honorees and our sponsors as well. So you can get to know who they are, why they are our honorees for this year, why they have been nominated for awards, and pretty much why they decided to come on and sponsor the Full Figure Industry Awards. So with that being said, Chenese Lewis is my special guest for this evening. Chenese is she's a dear friend of mine. I don't know how long I've known Shanice, but Shanice is a pioneer in this industry. She's been doing this before I even thought to come into the industry. So I am going to let Shanice do a small introduction of herself, and then we are going to take a deep dive into more of who she is and why she is getting our Icon of the Year award this year. Shanice, thank you so much for joining me. You can go ahead and take yourself off of mute. I know I said I was going to do it, but you go ahead and tell the people who you are.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Chenese Lewis. I have been in the plus industry for 23 years, and I have been in the industry in different facets, starting off with a desire to be a plus size model. And then I went into acting, hosting, event producing, podcasting. So I have a vast resume of different things. And so it all came together, and I was named one of the original plus size influencers, as I was doing all of those things just to get exposure and just to bring visibility to the plus size community. But at the time, influencer, wasn't a name that was coined yet. So, yeah, just
She
doing
was an
things.
influencer before we even knew what influencers were.
Right.
Yo, congratulations on all of your success thus far. And I know there is just you have more to go. I look forward to everything that you are bringing to the table. But let's press the rewind button and go back to some of your modeling days. Why now, as cliche as this question is, I'm going to ask it anyway. What made you want to get into modeling?
What initially made, I would say first, I didn't even know there was such a thing as a plus size model, because this was fairly new in the late 90s, early 2000s. So once I discovered it was even an opportunity for plus size people to model, then, I saw a magazine I subscribed to. It was Mode Magazine, and I don't know if everybody remembered that magazine. And I subscribed to it, and the issue came in the mail, and I was just like, wow, I want to do just what this girl is doing. And that's why they say representation matters. It really does, because I saw the cover of that magazine, and we didn't really look alike, but she was the closest thing to me that I have seen. And so, I was just inspired. And then I just got on the internet and started researching to see what I could do in my area. But unfortunately, I lived in a small town in the South where it was nothing happening. And that's how I eventually went into entering a pageant because I was looking for ways to get exposure. And Louisiana is not the fashion capital of the world.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about that pageant though. Did you take home a crown for the people who did not read her bio yet and don't know who she is? Let's talk a little bit about that.
So I couldn't find, opportunities to model in my area. And so I did find an opportunity for a plus size pageant. And before that, again, we're talking about early 2000s, late 90s. So I entered the pageant and I walked away with the national title. And I was Miss Plus America 2003. And so, I use that uh, platform to kind of launch my brand and my career moving forward.
And you've had the opportunity to host several events in the industry, the plus industry, and out of the fashion industry. Now, let me just ask you, in terms of hosting, where did you get the idea to host? Have you always had the confidence to go in front of hundreds of people and just grab the mic and just start talking? Because me, I'm like, I don't want to do it. Get somebody else to do it.
Well, as early as high school, I had an interest in theater. So, I was taking theater classes in high school and college. So I wasn't shy at all. I never been shy, and I'm an extrovert. So I never really thought I could be a professional host until I moved to Los Angeles and went to hosting classes. So I didn't just decide I wanted to be a host and just started doing it. I actually went and got trained because I was trying to be a host on television and interview celebrities. So I got trained to read the teleprompter and I got trained, interview techniques. So I was serious about hosting.
Oh, you did. Oh, you did it the professional way.
Yeah,
You
I'm
went
a professional host.
right, right. Let's take it to school. You went to school. I love that about you, Shanice, because you don't half step when it comes to anything in your career, and I just love that about you. So let's get more into the hosting. Can you just share with people, some of the events that you had the opportunity to host in your career?
Yes. So as far as plus size events, I've hosted so many till I forgot some of them. But the big ones are like the TCF Style Expo. I hosted that, I believe, for 6 years, the whole course of it while it was in Atlanta. And so that was a big deal in Atlanta. I actually host the first plus size fashion show during LA Fashion Week, which was Hot Curves. I've hosted like a lot of small fashion shows. I've hosted a plus size fashion show in St. Croix, Virgin Islands, and I did that I think for 2 years, 2 or 3 years. And then I like to expand outside of plus size fashion and did natural hair because even though I'm in the plus size fashion world, I like to do mainstream things as well.
Yeah.
And so I hosted the New Orleans Natural Hair Expo during the Essence Festival for 6 years. And so I probably would still be hosting some of those events, but the pandemic kind of shut stuff down and they just didn't come back after the pandemic.
Yeah, so in terms of the pandemic, and I talk to people a lot about, how did you pivot? How has your career changed, either for the better or the worse? What are some things that you learned about yourself coming out of the pandemic that just kind of changed or grew your personal brands?
So the pandemic was so disappointing to me because I was preparing stuff for 2020 because that was my 20th anniversary in the plus industry. So I had plans on like going on tour and going to all the plus size events to celebrate my 20 years in the industry. And so then, the pandemic hit and everything shut down. And I was like, oh man, I can't do anything. I can't go anywhere. So I had to pivot and I just became really good in PR that year. I mean, I already was, but I was really pushing it that year because I just could do nothing but stay home and be on the computer. And so that was the year I got named one of the original plus size influencers in Forbes. And I believe, everything happens for a reason, because if I would have did what I originally want to, I wouldn't have been pushing it that hard to get interviews and to get press. So everything happens for a reason, because, being in Forbes is phenomenal.
Oh, being in Forbes is a dream, honey. That is hashtag goals.
Yes.
So when you talk about PR, you were doing PR more so for yourself or for other brands?
I do it for myself. Now, people always notice that I'm really good in marketing myself, and people be like, you ought to, do consulting. And I do have that on my website that I will consult, but I never really advertise it or push it. So most of the things I do for myself, because I was living in Los Angeles and I had a limited budget. So I learned how to build my own website. I learned how to do my own PR. I learned how to do my own graphics, everything out of necessity.
I hear that. Listen, I don't know anything about PR, but I do know about having to learn how to do things out of necessity because that shoestring budget, honey, is real. I don't have money to be paying everybody to do everything for me. I gotta learn how to do it myself.
Right.
In terms of hosting, what is what's the secret? Now, does hosting classes still exist?
Oh yeah. Well, in Los Angeles, there's a whole hosting school, and hosting is a lot of people in Los Angeles are trying to be entertainment correspondents.
Mm.
Entertainment Tonight, Access Hollywood. Now a lot of independent shows on online. So it's a lot of people trying to train to do that in Los Angeles.
All right, so no shade to anybody, and we're not gonna name no names, but I have a question for you in terms of hosting.
Yes.
Do you ever look at some of the hosts and be like, "Oh gosh, this person needs to go to school"?
Yeah, yes. I mean, it's a skill. And so sometimes, online people say they're anything and just put in and have no
Yeah.
credentials, no education in it. People just be posting anything. But, some events like people like kind of shucking and jiving and stuff, and they call that, hosting. So anybody could do that. But if you want somebody to kind of professional to kind of keep up the momentum of the show and keep the flow of the show going, that is a skill.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you that. What is the secret to good hosting?
Well, I mean, first, I think you have to have a pleasant personality, because it's not really up there buffoonery. Like some people go and think being a buffoon and be like, hey, yeah, but it's an audience for that. But
Baby.
it's but that's not everything. So I just think you have to be prepared to. Um, with the schedule, familiar with the brand, familiar with the people that's coming to the stage or what you're doing, familiar with the industry, because sometimes you have to improv. So you have to be knowledgeable about the event and who's who. So I think research is a big thing with anything.
Yeah, I hear you. I have been to shows where the host is
Bootleg.
bootleg, uh, boring. I have no idea what they are doing or why they are doing it. Like somebody just called them up the night before and be like, "My host quit. Can you come host my show?" I have
And
been to shows like,
a mess.
and it's a mess. So how? So I know, and I'll probably answered this question myself, but in your words,
Mm-hmm.
how important is it to have a great host? In your words.
Oh, it's important. Well, first of all, if you market the host with the event, that's another thing to help sell tickets and sell the show. I
Right.
know with me, in the past, people have put my name on, attached it to their event, and their event wasn't well known, but the sponsors were familiar with me and knew I do excellence, and my name attached to it helped them secure the sponsor. Because I talked to the sponsors, I interview them on my podcast, and it was like, oh, you got Chenese involved, well, you must be legit.
Right.
So it just helps the credibility of the overall event and the brand when you have people attached that are credible and legitimate as well.
Oh yeah, honey. The attachment just for people who are listening, if you are a show producer, that you have to be mindful, careful
Yeah.
about the people that you attach your event to as well, because it really could make or break your show.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
somebody could have had a bad experience with somebody and be like,
yeah,
well, I'm not going to sponsor that because that person that's, involved with it is not anybody that's somebody that's a conflict with my brand, and I'm not going to
right,
sponsor it. So it's very
right.
important.
And check references. I
Yeah.
mean, seriously, I don't think that when we talk about the events in the fashion industry, right, we tend to go with some of the popular names
Hmm.
to host our show, right? Thinking that it's going to help, but it treat it like a job and definitely check references. Absolutely.
But even if you have the ability to get somebody like a celebrity, that definitely helps with press and
Yes.
exposure. However, you have to make sure the celebrity is in line with your brand, because there's
Yeah.
celebrities that bring bad press and doing bad
Yes.
things. So,
Yes. Say that. Say that. Let's talk. You mentioned your podcast. I want to talk about the podcast. Your podcast has been going on for how many years now?
15.
15. I knew it was 15, but I didn't want to outspeak. But because you just recently celebrated your 15-year anniversary
Yes, this year,
this year.
because it started March 2008. So it's the very first podcast of the plus size industry. And then going back to hosting, my hosting teacher recommended me starting a podcast in 2008 because I was
Mm.
in hosting classes, and she recommended me to start a podcast to perfect my interviewing skills. So that's the whole reason my podcast came about, because I needed to be a great interviewer. So 15 years later, I can knock any interview out the box because my podcast took me to the Essence Festival, and I've interviewed, celebrities, government officials. And so my teacher was right that, practice makes perfect. And so, I just kept it going, because then it became a big part of my brand. Because, I have a lot of stuff under my brand in addition to the podcast, but people always, put the podcast next to my name over anything else.
Oh yeah, because that's what most people know you for. The podcast is probably one of the most recent things that you're doing. Like people who haven't been in the industry that long, right, is not going to know Shanice the model, right?
Right.
Or if they haven't done the research, they're not going to know Shanice the model. But the podcast is everywhere, so everybody knows the podcast. So when you first started the podcast, was the goal to be ongoing? Did you think that you would get to 15 years?
Well, no, because 2008, the podcast was the podcast industry was fairly new. So when my hosting teacher told me to start a podcast, I said, "What's a podcast?" I didn't even know what a podcast was. So I didn't have an example of what it could be. And, it's not like it is now. So, no, I had no idea. I just thought I was just going to practice to be a good host and be on TV.
I hear that. So if you had I'm gonna ask you the question, going back to hosting. If you had the opportunity to, I guess, what is one show that you would want to host that you haven't already? Like, what is there one that's on that wish list?
Um, I would say I would like to host something on television, since that's what I was training to do. And so, I would love to host a production, um, any kind, just on being televised, because that was my goal.
Well, still is your goal? You still trying to get back to TV?
Yeah. I shouldn't say past 10. It still
Right.
is.
Because we still got TV. TV's still
Yes,
going on.
that's true.
All right, so let's go ahead and put that in the atmosphere. We're gonna see Chenese Lewis hosting one of these shows on TV somewhere, somebody's channel.
Right.
So let's talk about the podcast some more. Is there I guess, let me say, what was your most memorable interview?
Um, that's a hard one, because it's been 15
I
years.
know. I know.
So, some of them probably are real memorable, and I done forgot because I'm getting
Right.
seasoned now. So,
I hear
um,
you.
but I have, interviewed almost every affluent person in the plus size industry. Before they were famous, I interviewed Ashley Graham before she was famous, Tess Holiday before she was famous. Um, I interviewed all the producers when they were producing their first event. I think I interviewed you when you were introducing
Sure did.
the Full Figure Industry Awards. I had Gwen DeVoe when she was introducing Full Figure Fashion Week. I had Marie Dene when she was introducing that, and I had Chastity when she was introducing Curvy Con. So like I got everything. Like it's really like I forgot what I went in the write up when I say it is. It's a oral history. So
Yes.
I have, everybody, even some people that are icons in our industry that have passed away, like Mia Amber Davis, Joanne Bergella. I have interviews with everybody. I need to archive it forever. I hope, it never disappears offline.
I know. That's crazy. I remember the Tess Holiday interview too.
Yeah. So a lot of people, they were, just trying to make it. So it's sometimes it's cool to go back and listen to it to see how far people have come now and see what they were saying, 10 years ago.
Yes.
So, it's a lot of history there.
Good for you. I love that for you. I remember when you did the interviews for Full Figure Fashion Week, right? And I was like, I think that may have been the first time I seen you in person. It may,
Okay.
I don't even remember, but I remember when Gwen said, "Oh, Chenese Lewis is gonna be here," and I was like, "Oh my God, like that is huge for me." You're one of the, but not just for me, but I'm just speaking for myself. You are definitely one of those people in the industry that when the name comes up, it rings bells. It's like, so for me to be able to, give you an award for icon, because you've been doing this like more than double the years I've been here. You know what I mean? So for me to be able to give someone like you an icon award, like for me, that's huge for me personally.
Oh,
Like
thank you.
for me, honestly, it's because when I look at some of the people in the industry who have been doing this well before I even thought to come into the industry, and for me to be able to give them, their flowers, it means the world to me. It's like, oh my God, I'm just like I'm in, you know what I mean? Like,
And one thing I did very good during my career was archive everything I did on my website because
yeah,
I was pre social media, but I was at the boom of the internet. So I might not have the most followers because Instagram wasn't around when I was going viral. But my website, you can go back all the way to see press from previous years. And I
yes.
was very good. And some of the people before me didn't archive everything. So it's hard to Google them and to find their old pictures and their old things because they don't put it up online. But that's one thing I did very good. If I could just get somebody to my website, usually that seals the deal.
So I'm glad that you said that because I was going to ask you that next in terms of you've been doing this before social media was popping or probably even existed. I think you was did we even have MySpace at that time?
I had a lot of followers on MySpace, but I think I was before MySpace. I
Yeah.
started before MySpace.
I mean, that was one of the questions I was going to ask you in terms of, all the things that you did pre social media.
Mhm.
Is that something that people can find? And that's a very good point. One of the things that I learned, because I like I said, I build out my websites, right? So one of the things that I've learned, three websites in, three designs in,
Mhm.
is that them links will disappear, right? So
Right.
I'm thinking I'm putting them back up on the website, and stuff that I did 10 years ago, before 10 years ago, people can't even find them. So that's a very valid point, just to make sure, one, you're keeping your website up to date with the same links when you switch over, and then things that you have done pre social media. Just make sure you carry them all. So when you say pre social media, those are not necessary links. They're like images of stuff in the press.
Yeah, so when you go to my website and you go to the press section, I usually do a screenshot of the interview on the website because some of those websites from 10 years ago don't even exist anymore. So
Right.
if I didn't get a screenshot, it would be gone forever and it didn't go. And some of that stuff is big stuff. And sometimes people remodel their website, revamp, and wipe out all of the old stuff.
Yeah.
So I have everything screenshot. Like if you don't have a picture, it didn't happen. So
Exactly.
you have to have everything documented. Like if I
Right.
said, "Oh, I was featured in Forbes," but I don't have the proof, people are gonna be like, "You lying." So,
That part. That part. So yeah, because that was definitely me. When I switched over websites, it's like now I have to remember to go back if I want those things up on my website. Even if I'm archiving, I'm just make sure I'm updating those links. So very valid point. And I want people to hear that part because not just having a website is not enough. Like the website is designed for people to go and research some of the things that you've done. So if you're not updating that website, and that was one of the things we have issues with the award show, is just having to, when the team goes to do the research and you say, okay, I have been nominated for, let's just using you, podcast of the year, and we're going to look for these podcast episodes and can't find them.
you
you know
can't find the
it's,
whole episode.
it happens, honey, it happens. People are nominated for stuff with the award show, and it's like there's no record of it. That we have to believe that what you say, that it doesn't work that way. So
Mm-mm.
have a website. So people deactivate social media. They feeling away today, so tomorrow they're gonna deactivate social media. You know what I mean? So
Never do that.
people can't research you.
You're right.
And there are so many people who have done it. Like the people are still with private pages.
Yeah, that's.
Like we
I
are still
mean,
doing that.
some people like speak to people and they said they do that because of their job, and I was like, well, what you posting that your job can't see? Like,
That part.
mine is open to the world. Anybody can see mine. My church people all on there, and if I had a risque picture, they could see it. I mean, I have nothing to hide.
For me, I always say, if I can't, like, if my kids are gonna cringe when they see it, I ain't posting it.
Yeah, right,
If it's not something my children are gonna be proud of, I'm not showing it to the world. So
right.
what is next for Chenese Lewis?
Well, November 4th, I will be in person at the Full Figured Industry Awards. Super excited. I haven't been to New York since probably 2019, since before the
Wow.
pandemic. So this will be my first time back. And so I have a lot of friends out of there because I used to come too for Plus Night Out.
Yes,
Hosted
Johanna.
that too. Yeah, I forgot that. So much stuff I didn't host, I didn't forgot.
Yeah.
But so I have a lot of friends in New York that I'm looking forward to seeing. More episodes of the Chenese Lewis Show. I think it's going to be a new episode Monday or whenever you're watching this coming up. And always some surprises up my sleeve. So you just have to keep following me because you never know.
So with that being said, tell people where they can follow you, please.
So definitely visit my website at shanicelewis.com and follow me on your favorite social media platform. I'm on everything in my government name, so I'm easy to find.
It is game time. We are going to
Uh-oh,
play. Yes, we're gonna play a little game with Shanice.
I forgot we were doing this.
Right. Pick a card, any card. I am going to ask you a couple of questions. And then if you don't know, it's fine. You can just say, girl, I don't know the answer to that question. And we just move on. If you know it, Good for you. You win absolutely nothing, by the way. So don't call me afterwards and be like, what I win.
What? I'll get
You
a
ready
free
for this
soap.
question?
I'll get a free soap.
You know, I will send you a free soap. I will. Listen, if you get all these questions right, I will send you a free soap. You ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Here we go. The first question. What was Victoria Beckham's name when she was part of the girl group, the Spice Girls?
Posh Spice.
Let's go, Shanice.
Uh, uh, uh.
Let's go. You got one. Who wrote the novel Robinson Crusoe?
Oh man. Who wrote the novel? Robinson Crusoe?
Yes.
I should know this because my major is English, but I'm going to pass because I'm about to say something crazy.
Daniel Defoe.
Oh, I don't know that.
I don't even know who that is.
Why you ask me that?
Sorry, Daniel. What is the only U.S. state to end in the letter G? You know this.
The only U.S. state to end in the letter G. I'm thinking.
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
It starts with a W.
Wyoming.
Yes. Yep. Okay, last question. What actress played Vivian in the 1990 film Pretty Woman?
Julia Roberts?
Yes. Listen, that second question was really hard, so I'm going to send you a soap. Okay.
Thank you. Well, by the way, say you have a soap line because they're like, why is she just sending her soap?
Yes, but this is not about me. I will put the link to the soaps in the description if you guys want to know more about the soaps that I make. You can click the link. This is about Chenese Lewis.
But
Okay.
we want to make sure that they know you're not sending me ivory soap or something.
Right. I make handmade soaps. So, what is your favorite scent?
I like lavender.
I knew you was gonna say that. And what is your favorite color?
I just like something bright, bright and loud. Pink, purple, blue, yellow.
Okay. I got you on the soap, girl. I
Okay.
got you on the soap. So, any final words that you want to leave people with? I'm so mad. I'm looking at this picture and it just doesn't want to show. That's so bootleg. But go ahead.
That happens sometimes when you do interviews. Everything doesn't go as planned. It happens. At least the internet didn't drop. So
that part.
So my final words. I'm just excited to be a part of the Full Figured Industry Awards, and make sure you follow me. I'll be posting, my countdown. I don't know what I'm gonna wear yet. I have no clue. I don't know who's doing my makeup. I don't know nothing. I'm just trying to, I'm having back problems. I'm just trying to make sure I can be functional. I haven't got to the cute stuff yet.
Yes. So yeah, make sure y'all keep Shanice in prayer too. Shanice just had her back surgery, but she is still showing up for us.
Even if I'm struggling, I'm gonna be there to get that award.
I appreciate you so much. You guys make sure you get your tickets for the Full Figure Industry Awards. Come out and see Chenese Lewis as she accepts her Icon of the Year award. Very well deserved. Make sure you come out and see who else is taking home trophies. We have 14 categories. We have 6 honorees. It's going to be a night of celebration. So make sure you guys come out. I appreciate you. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button while you are here. And we appreciate you. Everybody have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the rest of the summer, the little bit that is left. Okay. Good night, everybody.